Hey, what's up, you guys? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, representing the squad, of course. Today, I'm gonna go over an update on my Paleozoic deck. I've been really feeling them. I feel like Alter Guys kind of like slapped this deck in the face and said like, you're not relevant no more. We are. We're kind of taking the place that we're taking and filling the shoes that you once stood in. And I feel like Paleo still deserve their love because honestly, believe it or not, I really think that Paleos and Alter Guys are quite similar in what they do, but I think that Paleos do have a higher ceiling. I think that they do have that one thing that Alter Guys kind of lack, and it's not the ability to, negate this or that, but it's the ability to just grind. Like, I'm talking about, like, grind practically forever. Like, Alter Guys, they can grind, I'll give you that, but Paleo not only can grind, but they can produce excess damage. They can like OTK randomly. They can spam the board. They have like a turn 1 setup, a turn 2 kill. Alter Guys kind of rely so heavily on multi-faker that if they can't resolve that card, their deck is really, really slow. And Paleos start off slow, but their game progresses and speeds up by themselves. They do that themselves. They don't need one monster like multi-faker, and that's one of the big weaknesses that I feel that Alter Guys has, is if they don't have multi-faker, their deck is really slow. It really is. All it is just like normal set pass. And while Paleo kind of does that, but every trap that Paleo plays or activates, they get incremental value in the future as an investment because their traps will come back. And in a mirror match or even an Alter Guys versus Paleo matchup, I feel like the Paleos will have the advantage because every time a trap resolves from either player, Paleos are going to be the ones getting the maximum value out of that. And for that reason, and also because Totally Awesome is just retarded, and Opabinia and Alamala are insanely good, I feel that Paleos are a better strategy for Alter Guys. But of course, Alter Guys are competitive and Paleos not. I'm just stating my opinion. But let's hop into the deck profile. So we do play a Frog Engine that you're going to see in pretty much every Paleozoic deck profile. The ratio, I think the only ratio that would be different is probably the dupes. You can play 2 or 3. I choose to maximize on these cards because the more targets I have for Ronin Totem and the higher chance I have of opening with just a frog and, some back rows, I can kind of just set up for the kill next turn. This deck really, what it needs is to live for 1 turn and just be able to make a Toad. I feel that if you open up with a Swap Frog, it's very one-sided at that point because what's going to happen after that, it's going to be insane. But it can even do what it needs to do just by chaining the Paleo traps and setting up for your next turn. So I feel like it is a first turn setup, second turn kill, but it also could just be a trickling of a snowball effect that starts after turn 1. So you have the 8 frogs. And then for the only spells I decided to play 3 Pot of Desires. Now, these pots are actually just going to come out for the Sekka's Light because I was like, you know what, I'm only playing 1 spell and I'm playing it at 3. I might as well just play the Sekka's Light and kind of get that that extra incremental value that you can get from its ability to banish itself and draw that extra card. So I'm just gonna cut these for Sekka Lights because it's the only spell that I'm playing right now, and it doesn't make sense to be playing these over Sekka since they're both a +1, but one has way much less of a risk and kind of like a higher payout. So yeah, we're gonna cut these for Sekka Lights, but they're there for right now. And then for the Paleozoic traps, I do play 3 Canadias or Canadia, however you want to pronounce it. It's kind of like the best one. It prevents link summoning potentially. It doesn't always work that way, but it can stop like against spirals. If you book one of their spirals once they get 2 on board, they kind of have to look at it like, dang, I just normal summoned Drone and revealed Super Agent as special, and he booked it. I have a big red in hand, but he didn't pop my spiral. What am I supposed to do now? So they kind of either pass or they're just like, oh, I Foolish Burial and then like, Monster Reborn or something random like that. So it's a really good trap. Even in the Goki matchup, it's really good because they kind of have to have those 2 warriors face up in order to link summon. So you can kind of steal turns with this trap. It just depends. And then we do have 3 Olenoids. Olenoids is going to be good in the Sky Striker matchup. It's going to be good in the Alter Guys matchup because you can just pop their protocol. You can even hit, you know, like their what's it called, personal spoofing, you can hit their floodgate if it's really hurting you. But I think their anti-spell and their what's it called, the rivalry of the warlords is just gonna be there, and you know it's not gonna hurt you. But it can hit certain cards, and I like it a lot because once you set up your engine, one of my favorite cards to go into is Opabenia, so I can just keep these in my hand instead of setting them, so that way I'm not really losing an evenly matched or twin twisters, and just play them from hand like hand traps, which is really cool. It's something, again, another aspect or even a accoutrement that Paleos have that Alter guys don't have is we can play our traps from hand. So if we're playing around evenly matched, they evenly mean we just keep Paleozoic Opabenia and just play our traps from hand, which is really cool. And then I do play 2 Dino-Mishis. Dino-Mishis is really cool. You know, I like it. I like the ability to banish. But I also don't like that I have to set one less card just to use it. So I kind of don't like opening too many of this. It's just here. If I draw it, I draw it. If not, I'm going to search it off. I did consider playing Card of Demise as well because at the moment I am not playing any hand traps in this particular build. I do have every hand trap under the sun, but I kind of just not been using the hand traps because I have to share them between decks, and I hate, you know, damaging my cards by taking them out of sleeves and putting them in different sleeves. So I kind of just didn't want to do it. So I've considered Demise, and that's another reason why you want to play 2 if you want to play cards like Demise. So next up, a Paleozoic trap that no one really plays. They normally do, you know, 3, 2 of this, and then like 1 of the banished one. I like Maria a lot because while you look at it like a -1, like some players would say this does nothing, it actually sets you up for your future endeavors. If you open with a card like this and like just a Wabaku and another trap, you instantly can make Opabenia and then go into your Mrs. Arboy and then go into your Totally Awesome off of that. You start up plays like crazy. So Maria is a really, really good card. I actually like it a lot. If you play Nightmare Griffin, you can just use Maria. You can Foolish Burial your Imperial Order, which is another interaction that this card had. That's why I feel like Paleozoic players really need to show appreciation to this card. You Foolish Burial it, you do your combos, you make your Nightmare Griffin, you set this to your field, and then you kind of just win in the Sky Striker matchup. So this card has really, really good, I guess you can say, incremental value as well, but in the long run, it's going to be worth the investment. And then I play 1 Pykea. It's one of my favorite, if not my absolute favorite, Paleozoic trap. I really like its Pot of Greed-like effect. I love to search this. Every time I set up with my Opabenia, I'm extremely tempted to just search this card out and kind of play it from hand, chin a trap, draw 2, and continue. And if I draw Paleo off of that, oh man, it's just like, I just go bananas after that. And then I do play 1 Lianchaya. It's a combo piece. It helps when you Desires, which is another thing that Desires is good with. And then it also helps because sometimes when you link summon with your Paleos or if your opponent kills them, they have to banish themselves. It's like mandatory. So this puts them back. And then it kind of reloads your Frog engine when you're like, dang, you know, I don't have any more targets for Ronin Totem. Let's just go in with this, activate this, chain a trap, put a Frog back, get 2 extra monsters on field off of 1 trap. So it's a really, really good card. So you have your 3, 6, 9, 12 Paleozoic traps. I felt that 12 to 15 is a really good number. Anything less than 12, it's kind of like you're going to barely see them. And the Paleozoic traps are kind of why this deck grinds so good. Because you're always getting free monsters randomly from your graveyard. And you need to open up with them. You really do. Like, they're the only way you're going to make Toad or any extra deck monsters without hard drawing your Frogs. Which is really important because you only play 8. And then we do play 3 Reckless Greed because this deck really needs traps like this that you can just play for nothing. And what I mean by play for nothing, I mean there's no restriction, there's no stipulation. There doesn't have to be a specific card in the field like Canadia, Olenoids, you know. That's another reason why I like Pykea and I like Maria and, you know, Lianchaya because, well, Lianchaya is a little bit more situational, but I like these cards because I don't have to rely on my opponent having a certain card that can be targeted. You know what I'm saying? If it can't be targeted, then I'm really screwed. But I like these because I don't rely on my opponent. I'm not subject to his plays or his will. I can just combo off and chain my traps and make my own board using cards like these and Reckless Greed. So that's why Reckless Greed is really good in this deck. Just the ability to chain your traps at will and get the extra +1, which helps out a lot. We played 3 Wabakus. Now, I noticed that this card kind of just died down. Paleo players just don't run it anymore. I not only play 3 Wabakus, but I play 3 Threatening Roars. The new rules with time are kind of gay, but this is kind of how you be a douchebag, man. Like, you know, this is a grindy deck. It's kind of slow sometimes, and when you're playing in time or turns, or when you're heading to turns, cards like this can save your life, because if you're already ahead in value, in life points, and your opponent has like the last turn, and you know they're getting that swing, and you just hit them with the Wabaku, now it's like, dang, I guess I'm gonna have to cowboy for game, you know, type stuff. So it's really good. And also keep in mind, when you open with your paleo traps, these kind of guarantee that they're gonna stay there, because the paleo traps are already unaffected by monster effects on their own, and you ensure that they can't be destroyed by battle. Your opponent kind of has to Raigeki or pass, and who's always gonna have the 1-off. So these help, and also the Storming Mirror Forces help in addition to that. You can never really have too much protection. You just want to make sure that you cannot die. You chain this in tandem with the Torrential or a Rivalry of the Warlords, and combined or backed up with a Totally Awesome or a Solemn Strike, can kind of ensure that a board that's established gets broken. And I do main 3 Torrential Tributes because this is a trap deck, and Torrential's at 3, and you can take advantage of that with this deck. The only time it conflicts is when you already have your board set up, or you already have paleo traps engraved, and you kind of can't chain from this because you take a neg. But when you have to use it, you have to make that sacrifice. And it kind of also serves as insurance policy. If your board somehow gets broken, you can make sure that you break theirs at the same time, so that it's like, if I'm gonna lose, you're gonna lose with me. And then we have 3 copies of Solemn Strike, 1 Solemn Warning, and 1 Solemn Judgment. Like the Torrentials, you cannot chain your traps from these, but they are just too good to not play. There's never really going to be a bad matchup for cards like these. Even against Gokis, and they summon that Isolde, and they try to tell you what their chain links are, you let them know, like, I'm responding to the summon, sir. Like, the summon's not happening, so you're not telling me that I can't respond unless you're going to red reboot my strike. So these are really, really good. And then I have, these are, you know, we're moving to the real traps now, you know. These are kind of just cute 90-90 boo-boo cards. The Stormings, the Torrentials, the Solemns, these are the real traps. And then we're going to move forward to the nasty stuff, the stuff that kind of just helps this deck to be competitive. We play 3 Mistakes, 3 Anti-Spells, 2 Rivalry of the Warlords, and 1 Imperial Order. Now, my Floodgate lineup is pretty hefty. It's about 1/4 or 5th of the deck, because I do play technically 50 cards. So I play all of these because these have 0 impact, or even 0 drawback or negative repercussions on this deck. And in addition to that, they have a huge impact in a negative way against all the other decks that are not, I guess, Altergeist. I think even Altergeist themselves will struggle under the Mistake, particularly because they will not be able to like search and, you know, resolve their Hextia's effects to search, or Maliseek to search Multi-Faker. You know, it's just, it cripples them in a way, not extremely, but it does hurt. And this deck does not really search unless it's like a Dupe Frog. Everything else is just drawing and adding cards from grave to hand. Anti-Spell hurts this deck literally like 0. You play 3 spells and you really don't even need to play them, but they're there for the pluses. And then the Rivalry doesn't hurt because practically all your monsters are Aquas. Mastar Boy's Aqua, you know, Totally Awesome's Aqua. Even the Paleo monsters are Aqua. And then when you chain your traps from grave, if you read them, they summon themselves as Aqua monsters. And the frogs are Aquas too. So Rivalry doesn't hurt you, but it hurts other decks. And it helps you to go second. And like I said, Imperial is just a win con against Sky Strikers. You just, like I said, Maria, use Maria's effect. It dumps any trap, and then you add this back with your Nightmare Griffin. You're good to go. That's it for the main deck. The extra deck is actually triple Mastar Boy. You make this card a lot. Even though one can argue with me and say you can add it back with Toad, you have to realize that there's always going to be a better card to add back with Toad. So I don't really like wasting my opportunity to get back a resource that can potentially be, I guess you can say, the tide shifting in my favor, or even like my chance to kind of start winning just because I want to play 2 Mastar Boys. I really like playing the 3 because, yes, even Mastar Boy himself can add itself back, but it helps for your damage pushes. And then also when you're going in for your crazy combos, you put 1 right here on the right-hand side, you link off with it and put the second on the left-hand side. And then you got to realize, because you're linking with them, you can't use their effects to add themselves back. And you got to save that third one just for that push. And every time you're resolving Toad, you're always either putting his self back or you're putting a frog back. Or like you're even recycling like kaijus or stuff like that. Like, so that's why I really like 3 of this. I do also have the Topo because this is probably one of the better decks to play Topo in. Because while he will try to Raigeki your field, you have to realize that Paleozoic traps are unaffected by any monster effects, including this. So he'll try to destroy them, but what he's going to end up doing is just destroying your opponent's monsters instead. And you're going to activate traps like a floodgate. You can be like, all right, I activate Imperial Order. Do you have a response? All right, I chain my trap. I summon it here. His effect triggers. I destroy all your monsters. And now you're under Imperial Order. So he can just kind of seal the deal. My Nightmare Griffin is not in my extra deck, but I definitely am supposed to be playing Griffin because there's a lot of interactions that it has. And you're not trying to summon it to get a co-link. You're just trying to summon it to discard and set and kind of have that soft lock of no monster effects and continue to protect them with your back rows. And then we played 3 totally awesome. You're never going to not play 3 of this. This card is insane. What I think is so awesome about this card in particular is that any card that I don't have in my arsenal, any card that might not exist in this strategy, totally awesome can get that card for me. As you see, I do not main deck Evenly Match. I do not main deck Raigeki or Dark Hole. I do not main deck Twin Twisters or Infinite Impermanence. I definitely do not main deck Molluseeks. I don't main deck Goki monsters. But sometimes I like to have them. You know, even if you can potentially take a Spiral Sleeper with the totally awesome, why would you not take that? You know, if you have the chance to take something that detrimental, why would you not take it? So it's not the fact that he negates. It's not the fact that he cycles through your deck, protects his own self, and recycles your engine. It's the fact that whatever he negates is going to become yours depending on how it was negated. Like from the hand, you know, it depends. But it's a certain way you have to negate it in order to get it. If he negates an Ash Blossom, he can't set it. But if he negates a trap, you can set it. So again, this is another reason why I feel like this deck, like if you were to pin Altergeist and Paleozoics against each other, I feel like while it's one or the other, it's not guaranteed on either end. I feel like that Paleos have a higher chance of winning, especially because a card like this, being able to take their traps and set them and kind of just shift the time to my favor because now you're negging and I'm just gaining this free advantage. Like you just took a major neg right there. So he's just amazing. His name is befitting of his caliber. And this is something else that people might not understand why, but I play 3 Opabinias. I actually love making this card more than I love making Totally Awesome. And that is like, it sometimes baffles me myself because this card seems to be infinitely better, but there's something special about this card that I just can't shake. He's just really, really good. I mean, this card is just insane. It's like he's unaffected by monsters. He can protect himself. He searches outs for whatever situation you're in. He lets you play your traps from hand. He's just a beast of a card. I'm not wasting a Toad to put him back. I'm not wasting a Storm Boy to put him back. I'm playing 3 of him. And then in addition to that, I play 2 Anomalocaris. Now, I make the Paleozoic XYZs more than I make Toad, more than I make Miss Starboy. I make them every chance I get. I don't mind just making this in my actual extra monster zone and leaving it locked just like that until I decide to get rid of him. This card is a Dryden on crack and cocaine, and he's unaffected by monster effects. And then he's going to grab you an additional card every single turn. What you're going to do is you're going to end up playing a trap from hand with the Opabinia. You're going to chain a trap from grave, and then you're going to hit that card. Then you can even, after that resolves, use his effect to draw. It's going to be a trap. It's a huge amount of cards in your deck are traps. And then if it's a Paleo, you can play it from your hand again. And then you can, whenever you want, use this effect to pop. Like, these 2 on field is really strong. And when you're able to do that Starboy combo I told you, you go Starboy, put this here, link with the Starboy and a trap or a frog, and then put Totally Awesome here. So you have column 1, column 3, and column 5, and you're probably going to win the duel at that point. Just really awesome. And something else that's really important, games 2 and 3, when you have the chance to make an extra deck monster turn 1, it's always going to be Toad so that you do not lose to Evenly Matched. Remember that. Because Ultra guys, again, turn 1, they cannot protect themselves from an evenly matched. They would have to... No, they can't. Even if they were to, per se, infinite impermanence multi-faker, you have to keep in mind, if they're getting evenly matched, it's because they went first. And Ultra guys have really no way to summon Hexia turn 1 and get something under it. But Paleozoics have no problem summoning a toe turn 1 and, you know, negating the evenly. So, again, there's just so many reasons why Paleos are better than Ultra guys. And these are the last 3 rank 2s. OTK, OTK, and this is to kill cards that can't be targeted or destroyed. It helps out a lot. The extra deck is kind of still under the woodworks, but for the time being, this is really where I want it to be. There's some card choices that I can make and change. You know, I can cut ratios, stuff like that, but I love my deck the way it is, and I would not change a thing. And I love you guys as well. God bless you. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. Stay tuned for future content because I've got a couple more deck profiles before I go to sleep because I have to work in the morning. But peace out, Joe.